Hi, this is Guy Harris. Welcome to Talk Like a Leader. This week's episode is titled Looking Back and Looking Forward. It is the 100th episode of Talk Like a Leader, and it's a bit of a roundup episode. I'm going to point you to the 10 most commonly downloaded episodes, and interestingly enough, when you look at those episodes, they're spread over time. Some are in 2019, some are in 2020. They're not necessarily arranged in date order. So the number of downloads is not necessarily higher just because it's older. Probably some of them are biased towards older episodes. And overall, it's relatively balanced. So there's going to be a bit of a roundup here. I'm going to point you to some commonly downloaded episodes because I'm figuring if lots of other people wanted to hear it, maybe you do too. And if you're new to Talk Like a Leader, you might not even be aware that those episodes exist. I'm also hoping to model a little bit of a idea that I think is important in leadership is to reflect on where you are and what you're accomplishing periodically and see if you need to make some changes, see if you need to make adjustments, see if you can get input from others. Trying to live out a bit of what Socrates said when he said the unexamined life is not worth living. I don't know if this addresses all of the philosophical depths of that saying, but I think one of the things that saying says is that we have to stop occasionally and examine where we are and what we're accomplishing and if we're moving in the right direction. So I'm going to try to model a little bit of that, and I'm going to encourage you to do that in your own life, your own leadership journey. Are you accomplishing the things you want to accomplish? Are you learning the things you want to learn? Is there input you need to get from someone else? So I'll leave you with that thought, and I will attempt to model that for you in this week's episode, looking back and looking forward. So when I look back, the most commonly downloaded episodes, the 10 top episodes downloaded, are Championing Change, which was released in February of 2020. 3 Ways to Irritate Others and How to Correct It, released in March of 2019. Speaking of Change, also released in February of 2020. So you see 2 episodes related to change. And then 6 Questions for Collaborative Communication. That was in 2019 and March of 2019. When You Suddenly Find Yourself Leading Remotely, which was in March of 2020, probably hit a nerve because of the COVID sudden transition people faced. What It Means to Talk Like a Leader with my friend and colleague J.J. Brune, which was in January of 2020. Emotions Are the Barrier to Change, which was in March of 2019. So you see another change-related episode. The Impact of Trust, which was in February of 2020. Thoughts on Building Trust, which was in January of 2020. So 2 episodes related to trust. And then Data Tells and Story Sell, released in March of 2019. Now, links to all of these episodes on the talklikealeaderpodcast.com website are listed in the notes on the website, talklikealeaderpodcast.com, for this episode. So hopefully they'll be easy for you to find, and there's some things that I notice in there that I think are interesting. The ideas of change and collaboration and trust, they're all kind of related to each other. And so that seems like a theme that people are interested in. And so I'm reflecting a bit of what that tells me and maybe what I need to do a better job of organizing my content as I go forward. I do want to let you know in this idea of looking forward, an idea I have, and I'm going to invite you as a listener of Talk Like a Leader to give me your inputs. I'm working with my technical team to come up with the easiest to manage, both from a user interface and from our side, the collecting data side, to get input from you, my listeners, on the types of questions you have, the specific challenges you're facing, issues you want to see talked about on the Talk Like a Leader podcast. Maybe guests you'd like to hear other perspectives. I'm open to it all, and I'll do the best I can to try to implement as many ideas, questions, concerns, guest suggestions as I can fit into the schedule. I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. I do know that I'm going to be working on getting a system put together soon to allow you to give me feedback in a more seamless way than it might be true now if you maybe have to hunt me down on LinkedIn or look for one of my websites or go on a seek and find mission to try to connect with me. I'm trying to make that a little bit easier and more seamless. Which also I think points to an important leadership lesson we can all learn, is that it's important to get feedback from people so that you know how you're doing. And we don't only just give feedback as leaders, we also need to be prepared to accept feedback and hear feedback and try to learn and grow and get better. So I'm going to try to do that also in Talk Like a Leader podcast to model what I believe to be a true thing about leadership. Now, another looking forward idea is to let you know that my friends and colleagues, Wayne Turmel and Kevin Eikenberry, have just released a book called The Long Distance Teammate. It hit the shelves the week that I'm recording this episode, and this week I had interviews with both of them on key concepts from their book, The Long Distance Teammate. And so over the next 4 weeks after this, you'll get a chance to hear from them as guests on this podcast. We're going to have conversations around key concepts from the book, The Long Distance Teammate, and what you can learn from that as a long-distance leader, or really as just a leader of any team, so that the concepts that they propose, they talk about, they teach in that book, you can learn from and apply in your world. So it's a little bit of looking back, a little bit of looking forward. Thanks for being with me through the first 100 episodes or however many episodes you've been with me. And I invite you to join me in the journey as we all learn how to get better at talking like a leader.